Drafted in the 18th round by the Texas Rangers, 2011, 564th player chosen. First to get to the major league since Pete Harnisch. Any contact with Pete through the years or advice from him?
Not. I think I might have got a text message, or we spoke on the phone or something like right when it happened. But other than that, no. I think last was he doing. I think he was doing stuff for the Mariners last. I think.
Yes.
So I may have seen him in spring training as well.
Yeah. You work your way through the minor leagues, and now you get called to the majors. Tell us about that first game.
Flooded with anxiety. Flooded with anxiety. Remember calling my pops, and he couldn't believe it. What a moment! I mean, I got my jerseys back there. We're just moving. I finally have wall space to put up some of my collectibles, and so that was an incredibly cool moment for me. I was in Arizona. I was technically in minor league camp. I was never officially in big league camp that year. And before camp started, they told me that I was invited to play in those exhibition games that teams will play right before the season, but at the major league stadiums that they do right before the opener with some fans. And so I was invited to play in San Antonio in those exhibition games against the Astros. And the day of that exhibition, the day we were flying out to San Antonio from Arizona, they specifically said I didn't have to go in today because they knew that I was going to pack my bags, because from San Antonio I was going to AA, where I had already been assigned, had my roommate's apartment, everything picked out. And so I knew I didn't have to go to the park. I packed all my stuff, waiting for my other AA teammates that I was going to live with. They also got invited to those exhibition games. And so I remember getting a call, and it was my high pitching coach from the year before, kind of getting on me about, you were supposed to be here today at this time. Where are you? Get over here right now. And I was just, this is weird. I was never a troublemaker or pushing the limit in that way. If I had to be somewhere, I was there. And so I said, hey guys, I told the guys, I got to go to the field. So they're telling me I was supposed to be there. I guess you guys didn't have to be there, but I had to be there. So I something's wrong. I got to go over there. And so I get to the park, and Mike Daly, who's actually now with the Padres, he's in the front office of the Padres. He's the first one that greets me when I get out of my car. And he's like, hey, weren't you supposed to be here? Like, you're in trouble. You're in deep shit, man. You're like, you're gonna get an earful. And so I was like, Mike, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure they told me I didn't have to be here today. So then I walk in with him and my pitching coach, Steve Mintz, and they're kind of walking me into Ron Washington's office, his spring training office, and there, our whole front office is there, and that's when I said, well, this is weird. Something's going to happen. I'm being released, or I'm getting called up to the big leagues, and it didn't have the vibe of me being released. So I got the talk from Wash, and we mean business, and we're ready. And then that's when they named me the fifth starter. And I just remember being, I think what I told them was, I'm ready to get after it. Let's get to work is what I told them. And so I felt, even though I may not have been ready, I felt in my mind I was ready. There was definitely some learning that had to be done at my first year, but I was definitely eager and felt like I was up for the challenge.
And the first game was where and against whom?
My first game was at Tampa. My first college game in Boca, first major league game in Tampa. Family driving up. I don't know. The ticket system was the old ticket system still then, where you kind of write them on. I don't know how many tickets I left. The team hooked me up with a bunch. I think I only paid for like 10, and I must have had over 100 families and friends. All of my Fordham buddies flew down, stayed at the same hotels as my parents, and family drove up, cousins, friends, high school buddies. Pitched against the Rays against David Price. It was me versus David Price against a Tampa Bay team that was not far out from the ALCS. They were there in 12, in the ALCS, 12 or 13, 12,
Yeah.
I think.
And you go 6 innings, strike out 3, allow 3 earned runs on 4 hits, receive a no decision as the Rangers lost the game 5-4. It's 2014, and this is your life in 2014. And now it's a career start, your first career start in Yankee Stadium, July 5th, in front of your parents and about a dozen former teammates. This is the homecoming of homecomings.
Yeah,
You're the guy who sat the bleachers, started trouble, was asked to leave the stadium, but not on this day. They're not going to ask you to leave the stadium because you're the starting pitcher, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, that was a really special day for me. Like you said, it felt like a homecoming. I had my Fordham family out there. I had all the guys, coaches, teammates, former players, alumni. I mean, you name it. Anyone that had a connection to Fordham. I remember that series. I think that was. I think that if that was the first game or not the first game, the games that I wasn't pitching, I had a ton of Fordham graduates. Get there early for batting practice. Wait till I got close and just to tell me, hey, I went to Fordham too, and I would go and shake their hand or talk to them or give them a wave. And to this day, I go to New York and I get a few fans that went to Fordham that come by just to say hello. And
Wonderful.
if I have time, I'll kind of chat them up a little bit. If I don't, I got to run in. But Fordham has felt like a family to me. So,
but what a great day!
Definitely a homecoming.
Yeah, a homecoming, and you made the most of it. 5 1/3 innings, 3 hits, no runs in a game that would go 14 innings. You also won at Yankee Stadium in 2015, and you gave up your first hit to Alex Rodriguez. And what a connection that is, because this is a guy you had looked up to as a kid. And in doing research for our interview, I think you got a couple of autographs from him through the years.
I do have a couple autographs. As a kid, I got a couple autographs. I think also, I think my mom or my dad or a family friend ran into him a couple times, knowing that I was a ball player as a kid. Asked him, and they gave me his autograph or the ball that he signed. My first year, I faced Derek Jeter, and then in 15 or 16, I think it was, I faced Alex Rodriguez. Two guys that I looked up to, basically my whole life, and that was pretty cool for me.
And he got a hit off you, but he acknowledged you.
Alex, that's right. Alex got a hit off me, and then he later got to second base, I think, on a fielder's choice. And I got the ball, and I wasn't on the mound just yet, but I looked back to Alex Rodriguez was on second base, so
and I put him there.
So I looked back, and he acknowledged me, knowing that I was, from Miami. We grew up in the same area. So, that was a pretty cool moment as well.
But here's another really cool moment. In 2015, the Texas Rangers have an interleague series at Los Angeles against the Dodgers. And there's a guy in the booth who's been there for decades, who knows about this Nick Martinez guy from Fordham. Tell the story. It's a wonderful story about you and the great Scully.
Yeah, that was again another one that gives me goosebumps. We go in. We're going to LA, and I immediately I tell our PR guys, I tell whoever, I say I have to sit down. I have to meet Ben. I have to meet them. Right. Both Fordham guys. I cannot miss this opportunity. And sure enough, when we get to the stadium, he already had it set up. He set it up already.
Amazing.
Meetings. He knew that I was going there. He knew who I was already. I mean, I felt like I was the coolest guy in the world just because Vin Scully already knew who I was, and we talked about Fordham. We talked about the campus, just like we're doing now. We talked about Pete. We talked about some of the new guys coming up. I think at the time Brett Kennedy had just gotten drafted. We talked about some of the new and up and coming guys in the program. He was very with it. He loved the game. I have his picture here with me and him in this booth. We one of my favorite pictures. I got 2 copies. I gave one to my dad. He has it hung up in his house. I have the version where he signs, what class he graduated from, the year he graduated, along with my signature in the year I would have graduated. I think it was a 15, 20 minutes that we sat down that I'll cherish forever. I mean, what an amazing moment for me. And I mean, I'll never forget that. It was really cool.
And then after 2015, there's some rough patches in your career. You're up and down. You're being labeled as a depth guy. What's worse than that?
Right.
It's hard. And the old term used to be he's an organizational player.
Right.
It's really hard. But this really preyed on your mind. This up and down with Texas.
It did. It knocked me off my horse, to say the least. And I've never been one for labels. Um, I never looked at myself as a organizational player or whatever, any type of depth guy. I hate that term. I never saw myself that way. And so I think if you're thinking of yourself that way, then, I feel like you're already losing. You're already putting yourself behind. And so I viewed myself, even though I may not have been at the time, I viewed myself as an impact guy, as one of the 5 horsemen that was going to take you to a World Series, and help you win one. I may not have been ready, but that's how I viewed myself. I just, maybe at the time, I was on my way there. And so that depth guy, I could not. I hated that label. Again, same with the not a good hitter. I would spend my Saturday mornings driving to my high school to hit off the tee to work on my hitting. So I wasn't going to let anything restrict me. No one's going to put restrictions on me. I'm going to be the one showing them that I can live up to the expectations that I set on myself. And so that led me going to Japan, really. And
which I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about. So tell us about the transition from the Texas Rangers. That's a really tough decision, and I believe your wife was pregnant at the time.
Yeah. So that was a pretty tough decision. First off, yeah, my wife ended up giving birth. Our daughter, our firstborn, Vera was born out in Japan. She was born in Sapporo in 2018, my first year. So I first had to ask my wife, obviously, if she was comfortable giving birth in a foreign country, and she was cool with it. She knew that an opportunity like this only comes once in a lifetime, and had she said no, maybe I'm not in baseball anymore. I'm not playing for the Padres, and I ended up not, burning out. I don't know what happens, but she was okay with it. The next question became, okay, is this a good career choice for me to go out there? At the time, there was only a few guys, 3 max maybe, that had gone to Japan to revive their careers and come back and have a career in the States. 1, Kobe Lewis, and 2, Miles Mikolas, who had just done it the year that I went over there. He had just come back. So two very fresh cases. So it wasn't for everyone. It could have very easily my career could have just stayed in Japan. But it was also an opportunity where I saw these 2 guys go over there, 2 guys that I knew. I played with both of them. They had gone to Japan, had some success, and they were able to shake that label of being a depth guy, being an organizational player. And that's to me at that time, that was a label I had to shake. I had to shake that label. And so I had to prove that, okay, I'm pitching in this league. I'm doing well in this league. I'm not an organizational player. I'm a player that you can rely on, that you can count on. And essentially that's what Japan offered me. That's what they gave me. Even while I was out there, they signed me as a player that they needed to do well, that they relied on. They put pressure on my shoulders to help them win important games, to be one of the staples, one of the pillars of the team. And that goes a long way with me. If I know that you need me to do well, that you rely on me, that you trust me to do well, I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to bust my ass for you, help you win those championship games.
How was it those 4 years there, not just on the field? I mean, the ball is different in Japan than it is here. What was it like for you on the field and culturally off the field for you, your wife, and your baby?
Truthfully, the biggest adjustment was on the field. We love the culture. Japanese food is some of our favorite food. I love history. So that culture obviously being sold, very fascinating to me. My wife loves it too. She loves the food, loves to cook, loves how clean they eat. Um, the lifestyle is very cool. You do get homesick. I'm not gonna say you get homesick. Every year, I would get homesick. I'd miss home. You feel a little disconnected, but we have a tremendous respect for the opportunity that they've given us, the respect that they've given us while we were out there. And so culturally, it was awesome. We got to see the country, travel, try different foods that I would never eat again, unless I go back to Japan. That's not every day you can have um, uh, uh, teriyaki or what are they, jerky stingray. I've had jerky stingray before. I've had barbecued jellyfish. I mean, where are you going to try? Where else in the world are you going to try that stuff? So I took advantage of the unique food and the culture. I think that's the mentality you have to have if you want to have a good time in Japan. It's different. It's not in any way, shape, or form like our culture over here or like Western civilization. So if you go with an open mind, you can have a really, really good time out there.
And how crazy is it for Nick Martinez that the Olympics get pushed back a year and the host country is Japan, and you
Yeah,
make our Olympic team,
right.
and you have spoken at length about the pride that you felt in representing our country.
Yeah, that's an incredible opportunity to put on that jersey. Given where my family comes from, my grandparents escaped communism in search of opportunity, and what better place than America, and in the same lifetime, the country that gave them an opportunity for a better life, their grandson is representing that country in the Olympics, and probably the biggest stage of sports. And so besides myself, my family is incredibly grateful that I was chosen and able to represent the United States. So it means it's a lot bigger than just baseball. It's a deeper message there than that. It's really hard to explain, and we cry a lot just thinking about it.
And Mike Soch is your manager. He loves you. He has complete confidence in you. And it's time for the gold medal game. And he hands the ball to Nick Martinez, who pitches great against Japan, allows just a 1 run in 6 innings. An unforgettable experience. And you have the silver medal.
I would have liked gold, but that was an incredible game, and unforgettable moment. I'm pitching against, I'm playing in Japan. I've been in Japan for 4 years. It's like I'm one of them,
Right.
one of their own, pitching against their country. The Japanese fans were telling me that they were so happy that I pitched, that they were just rooting for a good game, and they got a good game. And so their country won. A lot of those guys were my former teammates, and I had four current teammates on that team. And it was just a really, really, really cool moment. I got a really cool picture with the 4 guys that were my members, were my teammates at the time that year together. And then I have my 2 former teammates that were also. I have pictures of us framed here at the house, and each of us wearing the medal in our what are the podium outfits. That's just an unforgettable moment. Really, really, really special that I got to pitch against Japan, and hopefully I can do it again in the WBC. But we'll see. Maybe we get a rematch. Martinez against Japan in the WBC. Who knows?
Get even. You are in Japan. A lot of players go to Japan, finish their careers there. You don't. You go from Japan and get an opportunity to come back to the States and pitch in the San Diego organization. They sign you in March of 2022.
Yeah, so that was very interesting. That goes back to 2019. And in 2000, it goes. I guess let's have some. It started at 2018. I have a pretty good season, but I don't get a lot of interest, major league interest, to come back. I thought I had a solid year, my first year in Japan. Nothing flashy, but very reliable. Again, I feel like to me as an athlete, as a person, I want to be reliable. I want to be relied on, and so I had like 24 starts, 18 quality starts. I was averaging 7 innings an outing. I had a 3.5 ERA, not a ton of strikeouts or swings and misses, but you give me the ball and I'm gonna compete my ass off for you. And so I thought I was gonna draw a lot of major league interest to at least a team that was rebuilding, to be a starter for them and eat up a ton of innings. That didn't happen, and so while I was out there, I was faced with a crossroads. Do I stay in Japan and play my career here, and if I go back, I go back, and don't change anything, and just try to keep playing maybe that old school mentality of working for ground balls and pitching to contact early. I'm still doing that technically, but in a different way. But very more of an old school approach to pitching. Or do I learn about these analytics, biomechanics, throwing programs? Do I take that chance, that leap, and put myself in a vulnerable situation where it may not work? I'm already, I'm making pretty good money out in Japan. This is a pretty big gamble, and I went for it just because I feel like as an athlete we should always be betting on ourselves. I've always had the confidence that I may not get it, but I can figure it out. And so that in 2019, that's all that started. I started learning about spin rate, movement profiles, pitch design, throwing programs, biomechanics, and I started applying them in these games. And I ended up getting hurt in 2019, but my spring training, I can already see, although at spring training I was getting more swings and misses than I'd normally gotten. I was actually seeing how this was working, how the analytics, how I can apply it to my game and to my strengths and get more swings and misses within the count and to end the at bat. Unfortunately, I got injured, but going in 2020, I applied those same concepts, and I was starting to see, I was starting to see better results. We got hit with the pandemic. I started focusing a little bit too much on mechanics, even while I was out in the game competing. And so my walks went up a little bit. My swings and misses went up, but I was also walking guys. I got hit around a little bit. I wasn't lasting that deep into the game. And so, but I could still see there were areas where I was getting better, more areas to improve. I knew I could fix, but definitely areas where I was getting better. And so in 2021 is kind of where you see all that come together. And I developed a wipeout changeup. My velocity had gotten up from working on my mechanics. I was set on this. These are the mechanics that I want. I had a really good understanding for the analytics of the game. That hunger, that curiosity was kicked up again. And so now I felt like cutting edge technology. I was kind of trying to find new ways to get better every time I took the mound from an analytics standpoint, and what information to look for, what information to disregard, and how it applies to my strengths. And in 2021, you see all that come together. You see it come together in a big way at the Olympics, and then I'm able to translate that to the major leagues.
Did San Diego beat out other teams for your services to sign you in March?
Yeah, so San Diego, San Francisco, and LA were like the top three. I had some interest on the East Coast as well for some teams, but I guess the contract negotiations were further along, and they weren't ready to commit the same amount that San Diego or the other two teams were ready to commit.
And so you served in multiple capacities for the San Diego Padres in 2022, started 10 games, finished 15. And now they need to fill out the back end of the rotation behind you, Darvish, and Blake Snell and Joe Musgrove. And you pitched hugely important innings down the stretch. And those people who know about Nick Martinez, we were all these people were busting their buttons, seeing you out there in these critical moments. And after all you had been through, in the uncertainty and the crossroads moment that you spoke about in Japan, I may never get back. And now here we are in the National League Championship Series against the Philadelphia Phillies. I can't imagine what the emotions must have been like.
I tried to keep them as even keel as possible. I pitch with a lot of rage and a lot of emotion, but I like to prepare on a much more even keeled, mentality. But while I'm out there, I'm just competing. And again, I was on a team that checked all those boxes. You know, they relied on me. The guys were great. The communication between the coaches was phenomenal.
And he's a great manager. He is a great manager.
Bomel's awesome. Our pitching coach is great. Ruben's great. Fritzy out in the bullpen's awesome. I think they gave me an objective. I had the hunger to win a World Series. I still have the hunger to win a World Series, but particularly that year, you know, the mission in mind, it was very clear. Give me the objective. Give me what you want to do, and I know that you trust me. I know that you rely on me. I know our mission is to win a World Series. I can now just focus on how can I get there. My mind can now work on ways to get us a championship ring, and so that's been my mentality the last couple of years, and it'll be the same mentality going into this year. Just give me a clear objective of what you want from me. Be transparent, good communication, and I'm going to go out there and bust my ass for you and help you win a championship.
And you made it clear you'd like to start in 2023, but you have often said you cared only about winning and would pitch in whatever role they need you. And they obviously appreciate that because they've just given you a whole lot of money for a 3-year contract. And what that does is, in Nick Martinez's life and for his family, it provides stability, and it really reflects a lot about the work that you have put in to get to this point.
Yeah, it definitely reflects the work that I've put in to put myself in this position. And again, it gives me stability for my family, and now it just takes away something else that I have to worry about and focus on. And now I can just go out there and play ball. You know, that I can play at the purest form of baseball, right? I could play that and play for the purest reasons of why we play this game, and go out there and bust my ass and win games. And you know, I think what helps is the guys around me too, knowing that they see me working, they see my work ethic, they see my passion for playing, for winning. I'm a good, you know, I like to think of myself as a good guy in the clubhouse. They appreciate me. And so knowing that the guys support me, I know that whatever happens on the field doesn't define me as a player, as a person. It defines me as a player, but doesn't define me as a person, right? So knowing that these guys have my back, these guys knowing of where I come from and how hard I work, knowing that those moments don't define me as a person allows me to be more aggressive, allows me to go out there with more passion, to leave it all out there every time I'm on the mound. And you know, whatever happens, happens, and we can roll from there, right? So you know, nobody's perfect, but you know, the conviction and the intent is there. And so I think you know, if we see that in each other, then we can all pull the rope in the same direction.
Before you go, what would you like to say to the Fordham community?
I love the support, man. It means a lot to me. I like to consider myself a loyal man with you know, but Len started in 1854. Fordham started in 18 something,
41. Yep.
1841, very long tradition. I love that history stuff. I feel incredibly blessed to be a part of the Fordham community, the Fordham family, and I really love the support. If you come to one of our ball games and you happen to catch my attention, you're from Fordham, shout it out, man. I'll probably come by and talk to you. I mean, I love talking about the campus and about the school.
What a joy to be with you. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thanks,
All
Ed.
best wishes to you and your family. And we are so deeply grateful for your time, and we wish you the very best of success. And this production has been aided and abetted by Athletic Director Ed Cole and the indispensable Joe DeBarry, member of the Sports Information Directors Hall of Fame. As the great Ernie Harwell once said, I think I've done all the damage I can do. Please note, no animals, especially rams, were harmed in the production of this Zoomcast, nor any special effects used. And when all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do. Thanks so much for putting up with me, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Ed Randall's Talking Rams.